A bill seeking to mandate Nigerian-trained medical and dental practitioners to practice for a minimum of 5 years in the country before being granted a full license last week passed second reading at the House of Representatives. Reacting to this, the World Medical Association took a swipe at Nigeria's House of Representatives, describing the proposed law to restrict the country's medical doctors to Nigeria for 5 years before they are allowed to travel abroad to practice as a blot on the hallowed chambers. President of the group, Dr. Osao Enabulele, insisted that the bill was ill-advised, badly researched, and therefore ran contrary to the Constitution of Nigeria. In addition, the WMA president characterized the proposed law as not only outlandish, but totally retrogressive, stressing that the figure of Nigerian doctors resident in the country quoted by the sponsor of the bill was bogus. Joining us on the show this morning to discuss this bill seeking to keep doctors in Nigeria is Dr. Alero Roberts, a consultant in public health and senior lecturer in maternal and child health at the College of Medicine, University of Lagos, while Ganiyu Abiodun Johnson, member of the House of Representatives representing Oshodi Isolo 2 federal constituency, will join us later as the conversation progresses. Good morning, Dr. Roberts, and welcome to the morning show.
Thank you very much for having me on such a touchy subject.
Well, you heard what the president of the WMA said. In the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors have said it's modern slavery. The aspirant doctors have said it's ill-conceived. I would like to get your thoughts on this bill by Honorable Ganiyu Johnson to keep doctors here for a minimum of 5 years before granting them their license to practice anywhere in the world.
I'm not sure my thoughts and opinion really count for family television, so let's be... but I shall struggle to be extremely courteous. Certainly, as Dr. Enabulele said, extremely ill-conceived, extremely ill-advised, extremely badly researched, clearly shows that the proponent of the bill didn't have the capacity to read medicine. So we're not terribly surprised. This is the kind of knee-jerk reaction that government usually takes to impending problems. Instead of trying to fix the root of the problem, they go and put on these draconian pronouncements that actually make absolutely no sense at all. I do not know how you want to run contrary to the constitution of the federal government of the country and restrict movement of a Nigerian. How do you do that? And do you imagine that anybody who has the mental capacity to read medicine will not find his or her way out of the country and practice outside if should they choose to? Of course, there are a zillion and one ways I can think about, but I'd hate to give ammunition to the enemy.
Okay, Dr. Roberts, you talked about the root of the problem. So the question to ask is, what is the root of the problem? And what will have been the best way to tackle the root or roots of the problem?
So the reason why are doctors leaving? I always say this. People who go into the health sciences, medicine included, are clearly not looking for money. For generations, we have known that medicine is not the most lucrative thing you can do with your life. So the people who go into medicine genuinely want to help and serve. The problem is that with medicine is that you need conditions of service. You need tools. There's hardly anything I can do right now, God forbid, anybody slump, without tools, without a backing system. So if those conditions of service are not being met, if I don't have the tools to work, if I don't have a system within which to work, there's very little I can do. And that hurts because that goes against what my mind, my heart, everything wants to do, which is to help. So what we need to be looking at is what are the push factors? We certainly know the push factors that are pushing doctors out of the country. Why do we not change them to pull factors? Why do we not make this place a place where expertise wants to come and work? Which is what we saw about 20 years ago, what Saudi Arabia did. All our doctors went there. What were they doing? They had fantastic remuneration packages and conditions of service. And people could go there, do what they wanted to do, and then come back. And this is the same thing that's happening again. Instead of addressing the push factors, we're busy putting out these draconian this thing. What about security, conditions of service, remuneration, places to work, supports?
Well, the bill is still under consideration. It's gone past first reading, second reading, so it probably may not fly. And Dr. Olori Egbe, chairman of the Senate Committee on Public Health, has even written a piece opposing it. So even if it passes at the House of Reps, there's no guarantee that it will pass. But I understand we now have Honorable Ganiyu Johnson, who is here with us. Honorable Johnson, thank you very much for joining us. Well, I mean, I saw a criticism of you in other paper, reviewing the performance of legislators. When you first got to the House of Reps, you were accused of being one of those persons who just went there to just go and observe. But then, of course, you know, later the same critics said, oh, you had become active. Bills that you had proposed with regard to technology, with airports and violence against persons prohibition that you co-sponsored and all of that. But then all of a sudden, from nowhere, you came with this controversial bill about slavery for 5 years for medical doctors trained in Nigeria. What's your reaction to the heavy backlash that you have received, and is this the best that you can offer, Honorable Ganiyu Johnson?
Thank you very much. First of all, it is not slavery, all right? The whole bill was premised on improved welfare package for medical personnel, okay? 2, improved health facilities, upgrading and maintaining of our health facilities, especially starting from the foundation, that is primary health care, health centers, trying to upgrade those ones to general hospitals. Then also maintain and upgrade our general hospitals to specialist hospitals. And also try to maintain and upgrade our specialist hospitals to research centers. If these things are done, I think the health personnel will have no cause to leave this country. Coupled with the fact that I also canvass for government to collaborate with private sector, especially the insurance companies. You know, most of our dividends in insurance companies are idle. We can tap into this and use those funds to pilot the project. So with that, I don't see any problem. Then the 5 years, medical doctors feel strongly that they're under slavery. It's a win-win for them and for the government too. I'm so passionate about this because I'm looking at Nigeria. We have over 200 million people. And right now, we have very few doctors servicing these 200 million people. So the 5 years is inclusive of the housemanship immediately after graduation, all right, and the National Youth Service, okay, which is 2 years out of the 5 years. The remaining 3 years, they will use that opportunity to enroll for their residency, okay? So at the end of, if you look at a span of 20 years, we will have specialists in different areas, in different field of medicine, okay? Because their residency usually is between a span of 5 to 6 years. If they spend 3 years into residency, so the remaining 3 years, they have the option to either check out or complete the residency. So at the end of the day, it is win-win for them. So I don't know why there is big talk on this issue. So we are looking at their welfare. And when I talk about welfare packages, you know, that includes their salaries, other forms of loans, mortgages, and all that. So I don't see any problem with this bill.
Thank you, Honorable Johnson, for coming today. And as you've stated in a number of interviews or statements you've made post the reaction of your bill, you have given a justification for why you think the bill is a good idea. But many people have also asked that, wondered the basis or the research done before coming up with this bill as a solution to the crisis we have in terms of the number of doctors who are exiting or migrating to other countries. It would be good for you to please share with us perhaps what statistics you used, what research in terms of the root cause, what made you determine that this is the best course of action to deal with this? Because there's also the case around, there are other things perhaps you could look into. You talk about welfare benefits of doctors here in Nigeria. Could you have developed a bill to address that rather than keeping the doctors here? Could you have developed a bill to address the fact that many public servants, public officials do not use our healthcare facilities, hence they do not have an understanding of the true nature of things for the ordinary Nigerian in the health sector? Did you put into consideration that we have 24,000 doctors, whereas we need 363,000 doctors for the population in Nigeria? What made you arrive at this particular solution to the current challenge that we have?
First of all, there was a motion, not even a bill. There was a motion. And, you know, in the House, a motion usually advisory. It's not mandatory, you know. So there was a motion I raised on this particular issue titled Medical Brain Drain. Okay, in that motion, like I said, I prayed for all these things that I told you about. One, the welfare package. Two, the upgrading of our health facilities. Three, the collaboration between government and private sector to fund that project, all right? Now, on research, you know, we have some medical doctors in-house. So I consulted with some of my colleagues in the House that are medical doctors, and they are in support, and they gave me ideas. As a matter of fact, the 24,000 doctors you mentioned, the thing has declined to 10,000 now. And that is really why I'm so pained, passionate about it. How can we have barely less than 10,000 doctors in Nigeria servicing, I mean, over 200 million people? I mean, we're already in crisis. If you are not in crisis, WHO will not put Nigeria under red alert. You should understand that. We are in crisis, and something must be done immediately. And I believe, as a short-term measure, if we follow this, we probably rescue the situation. So it's not me that even put Nigeria under red alert. It's WHO. And based on the recommendation of WHO, that was why UK now placed Nigeria under red alert.
Well, Honorable Johnson, we'll come back to you. But first, let's go to Dr. Roberts, who is here with us in the studio to respond to some of the allegations you have raised, because you have proposed this now to seem to be in the best interest of the country, in the best interest of medical professionals. But we have Dr. Roberts here. Dr. Roberts, is this in the interest of medical doctors?
It certainly is not. It can never be in the interest of medical doctors. It can't be in the interest of the health sector of the country, and it cannot be in the interest of the collective public good. I mean, it's such an ill thought out bill, even arising from a faulty motion in the first place. The one question I want to ask is that one of the reasons, the stipulations for the bill was that, oh, doctors graduate from public universities that are subsidized by government. That is another argument we can go into another day. But let's even assume these public universities graduate doctors, nurses, engineers, architects, lawyers, accountants, need I go on, scientists. Easily the most critical workforce that this country needs right now, the scientists, teachers. Are all of them going to be bonded for 5 years before going abroad? That's number one. Why are you discriminating against the MBBS graduates only? Number two, what statistics really inform this bill? I mean, where did you get that figure of 10,000 doctors operating in the country? Is that from the NMA or from MD-CAN? So I really want to know, how do you come up with these numbers? And then why you think that fixing this, pushing out this draconian bill instead of fixing the push factors, the things that are actually getting the doctors out. Even that issue you mentioned about the residency program. Do you know how many doctors, MBBS graduates, the country produces annually? and the proportion of them that actually enter the residency program, do you know how much it costs the average resident to go through the residency program in Nigeria presently at this moment? So these are questions I really would like you to answer. Then some of the things I want to know is, why aren't we fixing these remuneration packages and recruitment processes that would actually give MBBS graduates some meaningful employment and a reason to stay back in the country? It is nobody's wish to leave his father's land. But if in his father's land he cannot keep body and soul together, he's bound to go out. He or she is bound to go out and look for a way of keeping body and soul together. So perhaps, Honorable Ganiyu Johnson, sir, could you address some of these factors?
Over to you, Honorable Johnson.
Thank you very much. On the issue of the crisis, yes, there are so many other professionals leaving the country. But right now, as I speak, you and I, we know that the medical personnel, those are the ones that were really facing challenges. And it's not possible for an individual to tackle all the problems at a go. So I'm facing the medical personnel. Hopefully, one of my colleagues will embark on other categories of professionals. So for me, I'm tackling this because there is crisis. We should not fold our arms until we are reduced to nothing. All I'm saying, I'm passionate about this, and I'm ready. I continue to defend it. I'm very, very passionate about it. Look, all we are saying here is, like I told you before, I raised a motion highlighting these issues, how the program will be funded, and I'm sure that they are looking into it, all right? And two, the issue of numbers, those numbers that I told you about, they are in public domain. I mean, it was one of those papers, daily papers, that said that, look, the trend now has reduced from 24,000 to 10,000. It's in public domain. I cannot lay my hands on that particular article now, but it's in public domain. So, but we really don't have to talk too much on this because there is still an opportunity. It has just scaled second reading. There is still an opportunity for public hearing where we will invite people to send in their memoranda. Okay, we will review. I mean, everybody will be engaged in a very robust debate on this issue. So it will still, like the presenter said, it will still be transmitted to the Senate for concurrence. And thereafter, it will come in, before it becomes a law, you will still pass it to Mr. President for his assent before it is pronounced that this thing has been passed to a law. We have a long way to go. A long way. It's not even at the third reading yet. Right? We have public hearing that we will engage you. So this is just an awareness. I'm happy the type of awareness this thing is generating. I'm happy. I know by the time we invite people for public hearing, a lot more people will come. So I don't want you to be so worried about that the thing is too draconian. You still have an opportunity to air your views.
Honorable Johnson, that they would have an opportunity to air their views. I believe the article you are referring to with regards to the statistics was made by the Punch newspaper, but they said that one doctor to 10,000 Nigerians, not 10,000 doctors. So they actually were highlighting the point that it was on the 20th of October 2022, the article was released. So the 10,000 in reference was the ratio of one doctor to patients. Not that we had 10,000 doctors in Nigeria. We have more than that. We have up to 24,000 doctors in Nigeria. They're just talking about, even then, it's still very low and not anywhere close to the numbers that we need. I believe whilst you have explained that this bill was done with the best of intentions, the challenge here is that this bill highlights or perhaps exposes the fact that representatives do not understand the true picture of what's happening with our doctors and dental practitioners in Nigeria. And that's where lies the issue. So if you're saying that having investigated the issue, the best response to this was this kind of bill, there's cause for concern. So it's beyond just let everybody come to the table to represent themselves. It's the fact that our representatives do not have an understanding of the issues or perhaps a way to respond to these issues. And so they would ask the question, do you use our local facilities? Do your family members use our local facilities? Do public officials use our local health facilities in terms of Nigerian health facilities to ascertain these issues? I'll just to ask on there. But I'll come to you, Dr. Roberts, as well. In terms of what Honorable Johnson has said, you have an opportunity. I know this is not the hearing, the public hearing of the House, but you have an opportunity to speak to representatives, not just Honorable Johnson, but others who are watching. What would be the priority or should be the priority of the government to address this massive brain drain of Nigerian doctors to other places? I know you've talked about welfare packages, but what are the immediate things that can be done to improve the health sector in Nigeria?
I think the first and foremost, what should be done is that anybody in public service should educate his children in this country and use our local health facilities in this country. Once you go into public service, remember you are also being subsidized by the taxpayers. Therefore, you have a duty of care to the country and a duty of service in public service to use the public health facilities and educational facilities. That, first of all, should be done as a matter of some urgency. I think that if you have to use the facilities locally, you will ensure even in your own constituencies, that those facilities are up to international standard for your sake, for the sake of your family members and the staff members on your team. First and foremost, once we get that sorted out, I think everything else will fall into place.
Honorable Johnson, one question to ask you. In the same country, we had the Minister of Labor and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, who is himself a medical doctor, who had been a governor of a state in this country, saying that, look, there's no problem with brain drain with regard to doctors. And any doctor that wants to leave Nigeria could go. And that the country has more than enough doctors. But you are talking about statistics. So you prepared this bill, this proposal, without any reference at all to the Ministry of Health or the Ministry of Labor and Employment, because it looks like the House of Reps, through this bill, and the Ministry of Labor and Employment are speaking at cross purposes. After all, Ngige says, no problem. More than enough doctors. Whoever wants to go can leave. What do you say to that?
Well, I'm not in a position to comment on that. All I'm saying is that based on the information before me and my interaction with my colleagues in the House that are medical doctors, we all know that we have crisis. If we don't have crisis, WHO will not place us under red alert. You should get that fact right. They will not place us under red alert, that we should try to retain our medical personnel. And that's not even me. It's WHO that said that. Okay? Based on that fact, that was why Britain now placed Nigeria under red alert. So, I mean, the same, the one you are talking about, well, that was some years back. Maybe we were not faced with such problems. Maybe that was why the Honorable Minister said that. But right now, we are faced with challenges. We are under crisis. Unless if you are telling me that we are not under crisis. We are under crisis. And I've provided solutions, how we can mitigate against this crisis. One, improved welfare package for our people. Two, upgrading of our health facilities. Like she said, if facilities are upgraded and maintained, I mean, we should be able to engage more doctors. The issue of residency, like she said, I mean, by the time we upgrade those facilities, the general hospitals, research centers, and our specialist hospitals, we'll be able to engage more doctors for residency, because more professionals, more qualified doctors will be absorbed. And by the time you look at a span of 10, 20 years, what will happen is that we will be able to produce as many specialists as possible in different disciplines of medicine. So the issue of residency that they don't have, once those health facilities are upgraded, we will engage more doctors. We will engage more resident doctors.
Honorable Johnson, I need a clarification. Are you saying, invariably, that you relied more on hearsay from some of your colleagues who are doctors in the House of Reps? No. You relied, no, just wait. You relied on information. No, wait. You relied on information from worded
in this house.
No, let me phrase the problem first. Let me phrase the problem first.
As a team in this house.
No, I understand. But you said, based on the opinion of some of your colleagues.
As a team.
Yeah, okay, well. So 1. 2, you quoted WHO. 3, you quoted the UK government. I pointed to you what the Ministry of Labour and Employment said, and you don't seem to be aware.
That was then.
No, just wait. No. It's not. It's not more than.
Not recently.
No,
not recently.
No, it's not up to 2 years. It's not up to 2 years. At best, it will be in 2021. And Doctor.
Not recently. I'm talking. The issue at hand. We are talking of present-day Nigeria.
Let me finish. And if that was in 2021, for this important bill, did you also consult the National Association of Resident Doctors, the Nigerian Medical Association, and Young Doctors Association, who have all come out before you then came up with this bill and said, doctors are the problem? We just need that clarification.
Well, it's your own personal opinion. Just
I'm not expressing an opinion. I'm asking you to clarify.
It's a long way to go. We have third reading, we have public hearing. I mean, there is concurrence at the upper house, and it will still be transmitted to Mr. President for his assent before becoming a law. So we still have ample opportunities to dialogue. I'm open. I'm really open. Because I'm passionate doesn't mean that you cannot criticize me. Yes, I'm open. There is a long way to go, I mean, yes, it has created that awareness that everybody is at alert about the bill. Fine. So let us wait until we get to the next level.
So this is about populism, attention, seeking attention.
I've told you the purpose of the bill, and it's up to you to draw your own conclusion, okay? And I've told you also that they just passed the second reading, so we still have opportunity, for public hearing, third reading, concurrence at the upper level, then even if it's scaled through, by the time it gets to Mr. President, who will eventually assent or not assent to the bill. And if he does, then it means it will come as a law. So we have an opportunity to dialogue. So we should not make serious issue about this bill. And I'm being honest about it. We should not.
Honorable Johnson, it's difficult to say for us not to make serious issues about this bill when it has grabbed headlines. doctors have responded. In fact, I don't, whether related or unrelated, the UK has put Nigerian doctors on red alert in terms of accepting doctors from the country. So we cannot sweep it under the carpet. Perhaps maybe if you were not able to consult with these bodies, did you consult? Wait, hold on a second. Hold on a second.
It's a process.
It's a process.
Lawmaking.
Yes. You said we shouldn't make it a big issue.
A bill. It's a law. It's a process. It's a process.
My question, Honorable Johnson. My question is this.
Past the second level, yes.
My question is this. You represent a constituency. Did you consult with your constituents? Because you're in the House you did. What was the process of consultation with the constituents, with your constituents? How many doctors do you have in your constituents? How many health facilities do you have in your constituency? Did you consult the doctors in your constituency?
You see, I'm sorry to say, in our constituency, usually we have stakeholders meeting. I always organize outreach, medical outreach, and I've done this severally, inviting ECO International. Just recently, before the general election, we had a medical outreach in my constituency. So we've been interacting. There is interface between me and my people. And I know that they are always clamoring for attention, especially on health challenges.
Well, Honorable Johnson, well, I don't want to... are you still there? Are you still there?
Yes, Johnson? I'm here.
Okay, I don't want to say where your constituency
yes, I'm here.
Is more popular for something else rather than medical practice and all of that. But I don't want to go there. I don't want to put you on the spot.
You know my constituency.
I know your constituency.
You know my constituency.
I know your constituency.
You know my constituency.
What your constituency is famous for.
Yes, because it's dominated, it's heavily dominated by the obedient. That's why I know that.
No, I'm not.
It's heavily dominated by the obedient. I'm not talking
about partisan politics.
That is...
No, I'm not talking about partisan politics. I'm talking about...
No, you started it. You started it. You started it. You said you know my constituency. Do you want to know my constituency more than I do? I mean, I know the challenges I'm facing with them.
I know you get the innuendo. But let's come back to you, Dr. Roberts. I mean, what's your final take on this before we move on? What will you be saying? Because now that he's insisting that there will be a process, public hearing and all of that, you know, and there are other stakeholders who are opposed to this, as you are. So what are those issues that you want to remind those stakeholders to take on? And speak particularly also to the Senate, where he says it will go to. Maybe it won't pass the Senate. Even if it fails at the Senate, maybe the president of Nigeria, even if this moves beyond the present administration.
To be honest, I think he's achieved what he intended to achieve. He's raised awareness about the issue that is facing the health sector in the country. And I think, in all honesty, it would be very, very prudent of him, in order to maintain his populism stand, because it's clearly a populist move, not based on science or fact or proper research in any way, shape or form, that he doesn't let it go any further and he readdresses the bill to address those things he has now raised in terms of a remuneration package and upgrading of the facilities. I think the best thing that you can do for the country right now, Honorable Ganiyu Johnson, sir, is to withdraw this bill, re-amend it, base it on scientific fact, coming out of our institutions, and represent it as a bill to improve the conditions of service for healthcare workers in this country. And as a public health physician, I dare say for healthcare workers, I'm not just speaking about doctors. I'm speaking about everybody in the healthcare sector, from the cleaner to the clinician. Everybody working in the health care sector needs to be properly incentivized to stay in the country, because you can't even talk about us losing doctors if you don't talk about us losing nurses.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Alero Roberts. Thank you very much, Honorable Ganiyu Abiodun Johnson, for joining us this morning.